just take it all. We used to not do it, but Grace is good now. So they're all official capacity, and unless they're asking for it, there's no, my grandma used to say that makes it only feel the one after this.
It's the same thing.
But it would be the table and then make it one.
She is, yeah. Basically, the water got really high, ketoacidosis, so they got her up stable.
You gotta be more careful.
Sometimes diabetes is just gonna do what it
I know, this one.
Yeah.
No, just where they are.
They've been managing.
So make that.
We do.
Okay. Yeah, I said, I have a list, I'm like, I could have voted on a list of people, I don't know who they are, why don't they have?
Well, most of them have a lot of experience.
So there's a class going on right there.
Should have a lottery. What number under 10?
Still like.
Over video. Hello, Dr. Holiday. What we do now? Good.
You're being very optimistic.
That's why I did. That was definitely.
Well, good evening, everyone, or afternoon. We will go ahead and call our regular scheduled board meeting Thursday, May 15th to order. We are calling for approval of the minutes from the April 17th meeting. It's been moved in second. Any discussion? All approve? Any opposers? And so those minutes have been approved. We now come to the point of 2-minute comments. We want to limit our comments to 2 minutes. Are there any public comments?
My name is Gigi Campbell. I would appreciate a staff update on the website, which is pretty much out of date. The elections schedule still shows it's lost. The 2025 sample ballots don't show the PSC, and maybe because they haven't been issued yet, but that would be important. The poll location on this Esri map that tells people who log in where their polling location is. Doesn't work. You try to type your address in the box and the box disappears. And then lastly, it would be really helpful for the agenda and the minutes to be up to date. The last minutes posted were March 2024. That's a long time ago. And the last agenda posted was in March of this year. So it'd be very helpful to get a staff update and perhaps a check-in when that will be accomplished.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Lindsay Holiday, I haven't, if she's correct, I'm concerned.
Any other comments? Thank you. Now we're down to old business. The old business. New business, of course, one of the main reasons we're here is to nominate, the nomination for the fifth member for the Board of Elections and the election of the chair and the vice chair. So at this time, we will open the floor for nominations for the fifth member of the Board of Elections.
I nominate Mike Kaplan.
Mike Kaplan has been nominated. David Sunderland. All right, I'll give Mike, anybody else before we close the floor.
We have a list of two.
We have a list of
Is
two.
a motion to approve the list.
And we need a motion to approve the list. Well, I guess should we read a little bit about this?
Oh, absolutely, or you can share it amongst, each other and send it over to the county.
Okay.
And for those who don't, then I know the process, this list, the way the at-large member is selected is sent over by the Board of Elections. The county commission has the actual final say on who to select from the list, or they can do nothing, in which case Mike would stay as the at-large. But this is all this board does. Put the list together, approve it, send it.
So no other nominations, we will approve that list, and have that sent over.
Let's see a motion amongst you four, Mike can't participate. So what are you for, will move to approve the
I second. Okay, so it's been moved in second, that this list be sent over, to the county for a nominee to be chosen.
Madam Chair, obviously, I feel favorable for Mr. Kaplan, but I do have concerns about having a recent former chair of the county Republican Party being on the list sent over to the county. So I would not be able to support that.
And I will just to add, I know you'll probably understand, but we go to move just to add to that, if it takes 3 people to approve the list, right? So otherwise it fails. And if it does fail, then so you can start with a new list and try to get that through. If that doesn't, ultimately we're unable to produce a list either with both names or with one name, then it just leaves it to at some point leads to the county governing authority after a certain number of days from April 1st, I think it was 969. If a number of days goes by, then it leads it to them to select from outside. And if they do, in the end, if the county commission doesn't do anything,
So basically,
so we, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so I interrupted, there's a motion, that's on the table, it has been seconded, we were in discussion. When I started talking.
Okay, so it's been motioned and second that we, send the list over, all in favor, say aye, and any opposed,
No,
so I sustain.
Okay, so, so if you didn't vote, then there's only two votes on this. So that fails. So, that leaves you all to let it be, or to do one, or to try another.
Madam Chair, I would move that we send the list, send the name of Mike Kaplan.
It's a motion that we choose one name over. And then second that motion. So if that motion is not second, then you have it.
Even if it were second, it appears it would be two. What will, we can leave this topic and go on about our business, or you all can, come up with another solution.
Madam Chair, could we get some clarity on what the timetable is, from here before the commission might act without our recommendation?
Yeah, it's actually, Mike and I were just talking about this. Yes, so it is 60 days, and that would, the way I read it would be for April 1, which is when we turn over. So when the terms turn over, so that leaves us till the end of this month to submit, or the county commission can, but may or may not nominate or not nominate, but appoint someone, Mike or someone. And it wouldn't be limited to the list. What this does is limit it to.
So if we don't submit anything, the county just takes it over. So you think
After 6, the vacancy, which there is no vacancy, but the vacancy technically occurs when it comes.
so then we have to vote on the chairs and everything. We don't have 6 members. Can we do that?
We can, it will be, that's a good question. So the way, moving on to that topic, the way the chair and vice chair works is that it just cannot be held by the same either party or at large 2 consecutive years. So what can happen is the party can just hold each one. And so the Democrat cannot be chair. And Mike, are you vice chair this? This guy. Okay. So, the at-large members not being considered, they might still on board, still appointed something, you'd have to do it again if someone else was chosen.
Okay.
But it would just flip-flop, right? So the Republican member would hold the chair, and the Democrat member would hold the vice chair. Or, Mike could still be appointed to things if it ever comes up that someone else is selecting who you're not. You would have to.
That's tough, yeah.
So they're all excellent questions.
So basically, the way you word in rotation, it would be the at-large person that would be to be the chair this year, since we honored the rotation last time.
All right, and Barbara, what we've been talking about is historically, it has just drifted, right? I mean, and so there's just been, and it's not a rule, it's just what the board has done in the past. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, which is under the way that things have operated. We switched it up one time, but other than that, the way things have operated, Mike with the chair, or
And also, we've also waited for the fifth member who's actually a member, because they can participate going forward, because if I don't make it as a nomination, they bring somebody in, and I vote for somebody as opposed to the person who is sure is member. Fifth member, so we've always gotten this done pretty much before now. We've always had them back in March, April.
most of it. Most of the time.
And I think the rule is we let it continue, but not usually
Every member of this board is a member until replaced, lawfully replaced. So it doesn't, if your term comes up and you don't, and let's say you're appointed, it doesn't, you're appointed, you just, so every member of the board lawfully serves until.
So, for the record, if Mike were nominated as chair, he's still a member of the board, but he is a voting member of the board.
Oh, yeah, he can serve as chair, and I'm not suggesting only one way or the other, but Mike could be appointed chair if he doesn't, if another, if at-large member comes in, you would have to revote, that member doesn't automatically take it, you would have to revote.
that's okay with me. Yeah. I just want, you can't.
And then let me also say, the county commission,
serves right.
and
Right.
the county commission tends to operate, like, we're a little more nimble, right? There. Unless the board of commissioners just appointed someone they came up with.
Oh, they can come up with something.
They can, after, as of June, whatever. 60 days.
They've got 2 weeks to do it.
Okay, I just want to understand the process.
Yeah. So we have 2 weeks to send a list. If we don't, they could appoint someone else. I'll leave it up to the chair, but I think where we are is we don't have
We don't have a list.
we don't have a list, and we haven't approved the list, and that's okay. I mean, we can go over it as long as y'all, there are consequences.
And, Madam Chair, going forward, I mean, if Mr. Kaplan goes forward for the next 2 years, I think that's perfectly fine. Obviously, I suggested it. But I do think that we need to going forward, think about how we can cooperatively find candidates who would be agreeable to members of both parties, since it takes 3 votes, and we have historically tried to be cooperative on that. Knowing that, Ms. Evans and I are not going to get exactly what we want out of that, and our colleagues on the Republican side wouldn't get exactly what they want. So it's a difficult process to find somebody to fit the bill, but I think it would be incumbent on us in future to make a good faith effort to engage in that.
And I don't want to drag this out, but I'll give you one, and I don't know that this would work, okay? But I'll give you one more option. One more option is, and we've done this in the past, is we can take a vote on each name individually and see if either one gets 3 votes. It may not, based on what just happened, but that is, and you don't have to do it, it's totally up to you. If anyone thinks that would be productive. But I don't want to keep, I don't want to make y'all keep voting on the same thing, but to get the same outcome.
So I think that would be productive, because again, Mike is a member of the board, and he would be a voting member of the board. We can take a vote.
You just can't vote for this. This is why you can vote for it.
So, it still may seem that we may, well, let's take a vote and see.
Sure, somebody make a motion as to either one first. And if that person gets 3 votes, they'll be on the list, and then if the next person goes, and you see how many votes they.
Well, I would move that we include Mike Kaplan on a list to send to the commission.
I second that motion. Yeah, it's been first and second. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposers?
No.
All right, so we still stuck at 2.
But they
Well, it
can-
never
Yeah,
hurt.
let's just do it.
I do, and that's what,
Let's just
I
move on.
want to try one more thing.
You know, it didn't work, let's just move on.
All right, so,
Let's move on.
the election of the chair and vice
I
chair.
nominate Robert Abbott to be chair.
There's been one nomination set out on the floor. Any other nomination? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. There's been a nomination and a second to that motion.
I nominate Mike Kaplan.
Well, I will say Mike can vote on this.
And I second that nomination. So there's been 2 names put out on the floor, Robert Abbott and Mike Kaplan. Any discussion before we go into the vote? All in favor of Mr. Abbott?
Aye.
Mike, you raise your hand.
I'll raise my hand.
All opposed?
No.
No. All right, so the ayes have it. Mr. Abbott will be the chair of the board. And at this point, nominations on the floor for vice chair. And I nominate Tom Ellington.
I second.
Any other nominations? There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so Mr. Ellington would now be the co-chair of the board. All right, so now next on our agenda is item C, appointment of poll managers, a special election. We have a special election on the 17th of June, 2025, and we've been given a list of poll managers. And from what I understand, these are all previous managers.
Managers or assistant managers who are temporarily taking over due to the managers, that in not being there.
So I move that we accept the list as printed,
Second.
and it's the motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we have approved the list for poll managers for the June 17, 2025 special election. Item D, continuation of Howard 3 voting at North Macon Presbyterian Church.
We moved there temporarily when the church that had been Maple White and then Turning Point and now is Rock Springs had things going on in the church that would make them unavailable as a polling place back in March. Lost. They still haven't gotten to the point where they'd be willing to be a polling place, and North Macon Presbyterian is willing to stay there. And so it might be that just until further notice, we need to just stay at North Macon as long as they'll have us.
That would be my preference for stability purposes. I mean, once people get used to going to that as their polling place, unless there's a definite reason to change, I would prefer to keep doing what we're doing to the maximum extent possible.
question for our counselor is, do we have to go through the same proposal, approval and such to stay at a place that we were kind of at temporarily?
So it was approved as a temporary or approved as a location? Did we specify? We'd have to look at that. It could continue to be temporary. I mean, it's been advertised properly, correct? We didn't do it under emergency circumstances.
Correct.
It went through the normal process that any polling place would go through.
Yes.
You can use it.
We'll
But
still put the ads in the paper and send out letters and cards, but
if it was done as a temporary measure, then we will want to make it permanent at some point, but it already has been advertised. As long as we comply with the statute.
I mean, just out of abundance of caution, I would suggest that in voting on this today, that we vote to make that the permanent location, with understanding that even permanent locations are not necessarily permanent, we can change it, but it would require positive action.
So there's a motion out, I guess, to vote to make, North Macon Presbyterian Church a permanent location unless otherwise specified. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's been a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we will continue to use North Macon Presbyterian unless otherwise they specify or something happens. Now there's a proposed move of Howard Ford to Theron Ursery starting in November.
we're currently at the Masonic Temple on Riverside, which was not an ideal choice, but it was the only choice we had at the time. Only people would say yes. But we worked out, I believe, with Parks and Rec, that even if there's other activities going on at their nursery on election day, around that, we have a space available inside that we can use. It's not a large precinct to begin with, and so we can move back there. I don't want to do it for this election. It would be too much of a rush to do it for this election or any runoff, but if we start the process now, so it'll be done plenty of time for November's.
So that seems logical, and that one has always been advertised, and the parking is better, the accessibility was better for the ADA as well as the Masonic Temple. So there is, I motion that we continue to use, using their nursery starting in November.
Second.
And there's a motion and a second, any discussion?
Just a quick question for Mr. Gillen. We've also used their nursery for early voting in the past, and I know that we've had an issue with summer camp there. Have there been any discussions to make sure that we can come to some kind of accommodation so that that conflict doesn't occur again?
We started having those conversations, so at least for next year, when we expect elections with significant turnouts, that we should hopefully have that as an option. And we'd like to have more than just the two locations.
All right, thank you. All right, so moving forward, other business staff reports. Just as the chair, I would like for us to take a moment of silence in remembrance of Lisa. Lisa was a very phenomenal worker. Just a tragic loss to this office. As a person in general, even if you saw her on the street outside of this office. And I'd like to just take a moment of silence, please, for Lisa. Thank you.
We benefited greatly from her OCD. It served as that was perfect for her role. A few of our staff went up to the big city of Dallas, Georgia, a couple weeks ago for some training, almost like a mini Gabrielle conference that we do generally annually. The Secretary of State was there for a brief period, and we just networked with other election officials and got some updates on policies and such. And that went well. Last week, the county, along with the Macon Water Authority and Atrium Health and the fire department all conducted a cyber exercise right next door in the meeting rooms to deal with, how to deal with another cyber incident, which it's been a year since our last one. Hopefully it'll be a long time before we get to see another one of those, but we are all in agreement that we are better prepared should that happen, just based on experience. So that also went well. And to answer an earlier question, we did send our concerns about the website to the IT department, who hopefully are going to either make the updates themselves or give us the access to do our own updates. Either one would be fine with me.
Is there a timetable on that? I mean, I certainly hope so, because we're going to have early voting starting soon, and I know there's not a lot on the ballot. It would help to have the correct sample ballots on the website.
Exactly.
And the correct polling places in, or a functional map.
Correct. Those should be available through the My Voter page, but we'd like to have it ourselves.
Right, but I mean, if we're operating it as though it's going to work, it needs to have that function.
Totally agree with that.
Is there somebody that's in charge of our website?
The person that we have been dealing with moved on to bigger and better things.
Can the county not help us?
Well, it's just talking to the person who's now in charge of the website.
We have somebody now.
We believe so. I'm a member of that team.
And just to be clear, so we don't have the power within this office to upload the minutes from the most recent meeting, so we're dependent on somebody at Macon-Bibb.
We've always said it to them and they put it on the website.
And that just simply hasn't happened for over a year. That's not great.
So is it, I would suggest that we make a call as early as tomorrow to IT so we can actually, because again, we are the voice for the people. And we need our information to be out there so that if we're advertising it to work, we need it to work. So I would suggest that somebody in this office make a call and update us via email as soon as possible as to when these things are gonna be done, because again, we have a special election in less than 30 days almost.
And if we're not getting a fairly immediate, vigorous response from IT, I would suggest going to the mayor's office. I know that Mr. Ficklin has offered his assistance in the past, and we should certainly take him up on that if need be.
Sure.
So we'll depend on you to make that happen.
Keep you informed.
Thank you.
And one last thing on that, one thing that might be productive, the county itself uses some pretty neat software for posting its agendas and minutes. So basically, all of the documents that are going to be examined at one of those meetings are available through the website in a timely manner. And as I understand it, that's a fairly pricey software package. But I wonder if it would be possible for us to basically piggyback off the county's contract. Because I think being able to make our materials more readily available would be useful.
And
We also have the, I was gonna say, we have the
oh,
voter
got the
numbers.
numbers.
Yes.
The numbers. So active members right now, 109,817, inactive 9,867, combined total 119,684. This data is accurate as of today, 5/15/2025. The Jarvis Dashboard Report, DDS, Driver Services has 328 applications, that's 328. Oliver, online voter registration applications, 0. Verifications pending, voters, 328. Thank you. So our legal reports.
I think maybe I was just talking to Barbara a bit before the meeting because, she's gonna be named, as you all have been for years in lawsuits and such. But I did want to report that we're down to, given how things have been for the last 7 or 8 years, we're down to a manageable number of lawsuits, which is the SB 202 litigation, which that was what started as the 6th District A&E, but they consolidated all the challenges SB 202 into one. It's called SB 202 litigation. That litigation is pretty inactive at this point. I mean, there's some things pending in the 11th Circuit. Every now and then something happens. And then there is the Garland-Favorito litigation, which that does nothing really much happens there. Motions to dismiss have been filed by every county in the state. He challenged his election years ago. And anyway, every county in the state filed a motion to dismiss, just waiting on ruling. And then the one that is actually active is the SB 189 litigation, which involves the voter challenges. Because we had that one last year on the first day, we got the honor of being included. Again, these are not suits that are against you all personally. That's why the names change as the members change, and we're not the only counties. This one's not every county in the state, but so believe it or not, that's all better than it has been in the somewhat recent past. So those, like I said, SB 189 is active. The others are not so much.
I do have one chair for one more question. Madam Chair. We have been talking, Mr. Nolan and I, about regulations for voter challenges. Other counties like Cobb County, I believe Cherokee, I think perhaps, have adopted regulations just to add some regularity to the process. And I just wanted to see where we were in having a draft ready for board members to read and consider.
We have the ones that most of the ones that exist, and we've gathered those. My partner Grace Martin works on that. Because briefing has been going on about it, we've been sort of letting that go while the arguments are being made as to why you should be able to do this or not. Ultimately, we'll get a draft together anyway because the law is constitutional or it's not. So in the end, we probably need something as you suggested, Mr.
I mean, I think regardless, there's going to be some kind of process for voter challenges in the future. There's a question about what shape that might take, but I think we need to have some procedures here in-house. Do you have a timetable of when?
We can do it. One of my concerns was that would be discoverable because we didn't have to produce it. We're going to produce it and make it part of the lawsuit. But we can have something if the board wants. It is middle of May. Well, we've got something by next meeting.
That would be appreciated.
I did forget one item, East Macon 3 after middle school, we are looking into options to move it as well. We're looking at a particular place tomorrow, actually. When I have more information, I'll share that and I can decide which one to do it.
Thank you. All right, now we're back down to public comments. Are there any public comments? And remember, this is not an answer, question and answer session, it's just public comments. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
I want to thank y'all for discussing the issues that Ms. Cabot brought up, and it sounds like you're on for a resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing it up. Shame we're not aware.
Any other public comments? Thank you all for joining us today.
Then for y'all.
That's a motion and a second. And all in favor?
Aye.
The ayes.
Can we ask questions now?
I think you can always ask them. It's just whether or not you
Yeah,
answer.
somebody will answer.
I think it might be helpful if you could tell us like what the fifth member is supposed to be? Is there any?
The criteria?
Yeah.